Hi, I'm Liz.
And I'm Rhea.
Welcome to Karma's My Bitch, a podcast about love,
Sex,
connection,
abundance,
joy,
purpose,
peace,
and how life isn't simply the stories we tell ourselves. So what is this episode about?
What comes at the end of the rainbow?
So as in, when you finally get there, what is there?
Like when your life is exactly what you imagined it could be.
Like when your dreams come true.
Yeah, effectively.
I was going to say, how do you know when your dreams have come true? But obviously, your dreams have come true.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's different from what you expect it to be. And part of that is because we have, as a society, so this is going to be over a few more generations where we're really having to unpick and unravel our expectations, which mark success, right? Like, I know I made it because. And all those kind of tangible goalpost things that we experience when we're in our destiny, and our karmic story tells us, okay, we know we're good enough, and our ego is satisfied because we have XYZ things in our lives, right? Maybe our bodies are falling apart, but that's okay. I have this. But you'll know, okay, to answer your question, when you're out of your karma and you're living from your fate, you'll know that you've kind of hit a point in which your life is as you imagined it could be, and you really desired it to be, because you're so completely satisfied. There isn't a part of you that feels lacking. And by lacking, I don't mean, oh, I need something to make me feel good enough.
No, just there's something missing.
Right. There is something, and it's an experience. And you can even say it's a person, right?
But then how do you know when? So I know that how and when are the karmic questions.
Yes.
But I'm sure there will be people listening, and I can definitely understand that, who are thinking to themselves, but I feel like I've been in my fate for a while. I'm living my purpose. I'm moving forward incrementally.
Well, incrementally, which would ideally not be when you're in your fate.
I'm moving forward, not incrementally. Although sometimes
leaps and bounds.
Sometimes it may feel incremental, but it's always leaps and bounds. The only way I know it's leaps and bounds is when I look back to a month. I'm like, who was I? Right?
Yes.
So then it must be moving forward, leaps and bounds. But the things that I felt were missing are still missing. What do I do? Like, is there at that point? It's like a lot of people would think maybe that moment that we discussed in this episode 11, isn't for them. Is there a way to tell a when or a how?
No, there isn't. Not when you're operating from your fate, because I think we said it in the previous season, time cannot be measured, or the how and when just don't factor into it. It just becomes. So to answer your question before we move forward in this,
because I didn't want to be like
outline.
Trying to.
First of all, that's where the trust comes in. That I know it's still written within my fate. I know I'm not there yet, but I'm going to do what I can to keep moving along my fate, knowing that somewhere those paths cross, right? And it could be, and usually that isn't necessarily purpose-based, but what you could do in that respect, and that means that you're further along in your fate to do that, that's when you can quantum leap. Because presumably, when you are operating from your fate, when it is the optimal time for everyone, all of that you desire will come. It is meant to. I think we're going to get more to that. The feeling I get is I'm going to get more information on that, but I won't for this episode.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So let's say you've gotten there. You've quantum leaped and or just plopped into it.
Yes.
What happens next?
You keep going. As boring as that sounds, you keep going. And that might mean that it's time to pivot.
Well, okay, go on.
Right? Like I feel like I've maxed out this experience in terms of my purpose at this moment. Maybe it's time that I want to explore my purpose, because again, our purpose is just, we're here to serve. Maybe I'm going to do it differently. I've always had an interest in X.
I wanted to be a singer, so I'm going to do that for a bit too.
Exactly.
Okay, but that's also something we were discussing in the previous season. Not that I really want to bring in the esoteric stuff to this, but that's also about bringing in new fate lines, right?
It is.
Okay.
It is. I mean, we're here to explore our many talents. We're not here
to be really good one-trick ponies.
Oh, no. Because that's what breeds complacency.
And it's also just, if we're talking about eternities and growth and all those things, you grow doing different things.
You do. You really
so
do.
even if you're doing the same thing, it's got to be different, right?
Yeah.
So we can write 15,000 books, but each book's got a different topic. So even though the process is the same, the learning is different.
Mm-hmm.
Each episode of this podcast is different-ish enough. And
We try.
I mean, if I just look at my life over the past however many years I've been alive, how many careers have I had? How many experiences have I had? That's kind of the point, right? You can still be doing 1, 2, 3 things that make a lot of sense to you, but maybe you wanted to add a fourth or a fifth.
Yeah. And often doing that enriches our experiences. I mean, you're not going to want to be recording this podcast with me 10 years from now, Brianna. I mean, just be honest.
No.
You're going to be so sick of my face. You're going to be so sick of my voice. You're just going to be like, I like our friendship, Liz, but we can stop now. Like, I really don't need to understand infinity and more esoteric bullshit.
Well, then maybe we'll also be doing something different.
Yeah, no, precisely. But it's just a matter of like this partnership can turn into something else, or you want to go off and do some songwriting, and you know maybe I just need to like go sit on a beach for.
I can always go sit on a beach.
Either way, the whole point is that we need to keep pivoting. Otherwise, you know, because we're really not here for a single thing. And so everything in this lifetime, no matter what it is, to some degree, well, it's not even to some degree, but everything has an expiration date.
No, that makes sense.
Right.
Including all relationships?
No, because there are some that are contracted for multiple eternities until death, like until for the lifespan, right? A single lifetime.
Okay, fine. Multiple eternities until death. Can you imagine if that was a new vow? It would be, I choose you every day because we have choice, and in those choices,
and I respect your consent.
Yeah, and I choose to choose you for multiple eternities in this lifespan. Can you imagine someone else being like, I mean, if honestly, turn around going, yeah, a do was simpler.
Exactly. I got you.
Yeah,
we're good.
We're good. But no, it does make sense because I mean, even talking about that, like you know, like. Everything about our worlds was grow up, learn how to do a job, do that job, die. Grow up, meet someone, be in that relationship, die. Yeah. And die wasn't like die and get reborn. And you know, like, oh, look at me, I can evolve in body. Look how special 5D high vibe is. It was actual like croquet. So
yeah, and if you were lucky, you can maybe retire before you die
and just enjoy a couple of years of some kind of freedom.
But even then, it's still work.
Yeah.
Retirement is probably some of the unhappiest periods for some. And that level of complacency and routine that often comes with our sort of post-career lives is often become wasted.
Yeah, because it's this goalpost mindset of the irony is that you work the whole time thinking one day I'm going to retire, and then you get there and then you're like, this isn't what I expected. And so it's probably why a lot of people I know, especially, they go back into work.
Yeah.
Or they feel like they have nothing. And so all of a sudden, all their issues that they've been staving off because they've been working so hard come up to meet them and like, wait, I choose to go back there.
Yeah.
But it's true. And I definitely had to deal with this and kind of think about it and get over it. Because I always had this goalpost mindset as well, right?
Yeah.
Go to university, leave university, become a lawyer, work in a law firm, become this, do that. And you know what I mean? Like, it was always like that. And I mean, luckily I released myself from it early, but only because I panic attacked my way out of it. So I literally didn't have a choice. And it was the one time I would say my body saved me. But not the only time, but you know what I mean.
I was going to say, that's quite a dramatic and pointed statement
but
at
my
your body.
No, but my body saved me, right? Like, it literally did. But then I really had to shift and be like, actually, working isn't what I mean, I don't know why we digress to work, but fine.
It's okay.
But this is all work, this episode. Yeah. But I'm saying this episode is about work, and we left.
Well, it's about purpose.
Yeah.
And relationship will fall into that. But yes, of course, it is. It's about work.
But when I think about it, you know, one thing led to the other thing, and we've spoken about this loads of times. But then it even got to the point recently where I was kind of thinking to myself, like, I had all these expectations about what it meant to be successful in this work. And obviously there's a part of me that wants to help as many people as possible, and great. And there's a part of me that wants to live the life that I like, great. But actually the biggest part of me realized that it doesn't matter, because ultimately I wake up every day and I do something I really enjoy. And I fill my days with something that brings me joy. So even if 3 people listen to this and 1 person buys the book, if I'm able to ensure that I'm abundant enough financially that I can still live my life, then yeah, I don't really care. It's the reason why we haven't monetized this podcast, and it's been out for so long. So
yeah, and what you speak of is effectively devotion, right? We carry that devotion within us. And as we pivot in our purpose and we decide that devotion becomes a part of the next thing we do. And when we experience devotion, that's when, I wouldn't say elevate, but that's what lights up that fate line. And the more fate lines we light up, the more eternities we're experiencing. And effectively, the more we can grow and evolve in a single lifetime. I'm still asking. So there's some connection to the previous episode. This is a bridge, right? Because this is bridging us to the final part, which I don't even know what that one is. So I'm trying to understand what is it about this.
It's in episode 12. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm trying to understand what is it about this like little piece.
And the little last piece.
Yeah, that is the take.
Piece.
Exactly. You have your eternities. You keep going and you keep pivoting. And you're doing this only for your growth and evolution, so you can experience the divine in all the divine ways, right?
And I mean, that's what the spiritual answer is to why you're doing it, but actually you're also doing it because you're having a really good time.
Yeah. Well, or not just that, but you just can't not do it. Yeah. Either you're just that talented, or you're just that curious, but whatever it is, you are propelled forward, and you have no reason to stop yourself, right? And so we can get to a point where as if you've lived 5 lives within a single lifespan. And that's ultimately the goal. And that's why when we look at the younger generations, we wonder, is it really okay for them to have multiple interests? Is it okay? Like, people still can't get their heads around that. And people are still, majority of our generation and society are still trying to funnel them into that single track success mindset.
Which doesn't really work considering the rise of AI, and most of the things we're trying to funnel them into will be like redundant in about 4 years' time.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is how most of us will be living in about 3 generations from now. So
my great-grandchildren.
Pretty much. Yeah. So we're looking at, and no one's really going to be doing this until about like 2026 and onward.
But it's possible for us from 2026 and onward to be doing this.
Consider like a lot of the younger generation, or, I look at so many young athletes now who are pretty much retiring after a few seasons. They're like, this is costing me my mental health. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? There's no idea of like, well, I've devoted so much time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into this thing that if I don't do it
until I can't walk, then
there's something wrong with me. Where some are like, you know what? I know I'm capable. I know I can move from this and maybe be happier, maybe live a healthier life.
Yeah.
Because this isn't for me.
Yeah. But I've already conquered whatever it was,
right.
And it's enough.
But it takes doing that, and it takes many people. We're looking for scale. So I'm not saying that no one is doing this now. You can sort of look and see that there are some people who are living we wouldn't say that it might look as if, sorry, I'm going to have to reframe that. I'll rephrase. So it might appear as if there are some people who are living multiple fate lines, right? Because they've got multiple businesses.
Like the Kardashians.
Under an umbrella. But they're actually not necessarily living in their fate. They just have many options going on. And there's a difference. And that difference being who's in their karma, who's not, right? And one can be operating from a massive fate line, but it still be a single thing. So what does this episode have to do with 10 and 12?
Okay.
Because I'm curious and I really want to know an answer, because I also feel like otherwise you don't waste my time.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want guidance telling me.
Oh, fine. Okay. I'm so used to it. I'm like, go on.
No, I don't.
Go on.
No, because I feel like in prior...
Go on, waste my time again.
No, because I actually, to be honest, I felt like almost every season there's a purpose. Like I feel like there's always something. This one just felt like, again, I could have just added this into another episode that I was like, why is this a standalone? Because we also don't want to waste listeners' time. It's not fair.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so we've got 10, we just did 10. We're coming into 12.
Which we felt was an addendum also.
Yeah, but I mean, if you split it up enough, it's fine. Like I was like, I could live with that. But this one, I was like, come on.
Yeah.
And there's actually there are 3 things about this, which is why it needed its own episode.
Okay.
The first is that you can never forget that your purpose overrides everything.
Apart from your fate.
Yeah, exactly.
Although your purpose is in your fate, so.
But purpose pretty much dictates everything which is written in your fate. The difference in that is that while your fate is written, effectively, there's so many ways in which your purpose can be played out. That's what really governs your choices. And so when you are understanding how much choice you actually have, you need to understand the part your purpose plays in order to understand where your choices actually lie, and how you can use that power of choice to satisfy yourself and be satisfied in your life. And the third point.
You didn't give a second.
That was the choices.
So what was the first one?
Purpose.
Okay.
It's purpose, choice.
Okay.
And the third one is to understand that so much of this, because it is the what if it never happened in the first place, this is seed planting for future generations. So while this doesn't seem like its own chapter, it is much more critical to understanding where the future is going than what you think it is, or how you think it's going to play out, and what's going to keep people most grounded, and why purpose is always going to overrule everything.
Apart from your fate.
Apart from fate, of course. So I guess that's why.
Right.
It's seed planting for future.
But you didn't finish your sentence, which was the reason why purpose will overrule everything is...
Because purpose is what grounds us to our human reality, and is how we will play out our growth and evolution game.
Okay, well as serving humanity.
Well, of course, in the act of serving humanity, right? Which is what purpose is. We're not changing that definition. But it is what grounds us to this human reality and will allow for humanity to evolve.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because actually from the olden times of I was born a farmer, I die a farmer, it's now I was born a blank slate, and in my life I did all these different things, including jobs that people hadn't even heard of, who in my parents' generation, and then I died having lived loads of lives in one, basically.
In which I also know that I'm helping elevate humanity's consciousness, or I'm contributing to humanity's consciousness.
Then that doesn't even have to be a conscious of I'm doing it by doing this.
Yeah, no, not at all. It doesn't have to be deliberate in that respect at all. Yeah. But it has more to do with just being conscious that your consciousness does help shift everything else, which is why we're here.
Well, the more we break the rules and dissolve them, neutralize them, the more we approach things from love, the more we approach things from freedom and respect and all that stuff, oneness, the more the landscape of humanity shifts. Because the more scale we have, the more, and then if you think about it, the more our children are different and the more their children are different. That's all it is.
Yes. It's a very large umbrella, much larger than I think we even grasped when we first introduced purpose, because we were like, yeah, it's to serve. Ta-da! Like, here it goes. And then what you choose to do with that is what you choose to do with that. But if you understand your being is that expanded, so how you do it and what you're doing at any given time when you are embodying the divine
is your purpose.
I mean, it's huge. So all of your choices that fall in line with your purpose, still quite broad.
So they're all your choices, basically, because if you're making choices from a conscious space, knowing that you're powerful and the divine, then every single choice is a purpose one.
Yes, precisely.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not calculating and manipulative at all. No, it's more you actually have a lot more options than you think.
It's actually, you have every option rather than none.
Exactly.
Or a limited amount.
Precisely.
Because you can do anything you want if you know you're the divine.
Yeah. Which, then that's everything you want. That's the episode. Okay. Yes. Okay. Ta-da! We got there in the end. Thank you for listening. For more information, articles, and inspiration, find us at karmasmybitch.com and at karmasmybitch.insta.
And if you liked what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review.